In the early days of Universal Studios Florida, movie magic came to life through epic stunts, thrilling effects, and behind-the-scenes secrets. Among the park's original headliners was Earthquake the Big One, a ride that took guests straight into the chaos of a Hollywood-style natural disaster. Based on the 1974 film, this experience promised fire, flood, and one unforgettable subway ride. But how did it all come together, and what caused the ground to shake beneath Universal guests for nearly 2 decades? Let's dive into the explosive history of Earthquake the Big One. The story of Earthquake the Big One actually begins in Hollywood. In the mid-1970s, Universal Pictures released the disaster epic Earthquake, featuring Charlton Heston and Ava Gardner. The film's use of Sensurround, massive low-frequency speakers that physically shook theatres, made a lasting impression. That same decade, Universal Studios Hollywood began experimenting with live special effects shows, and in 1989 they debuted the Earthquake segment as part of their studio tour. When Universal decided to bring its movie studio theme park to Florida in the early 90s, Earthquake was tapped to become one of the major attractions. But unlike Hollywood's tram-based sequence, the Florida version would be a full-fledged ride experience. The attraction would anchor the San Francisco area of the park, blending a behind-the-scenes walkthrough with a show-stopping finale. Thank you for joining me on another theme park attraction deep dive, and thank you to everyone in the comments that suggested Earthquake as a future video. And if you're watching and you're not already subscribed, maybe now's the right time. So when Universal Studios Florida began development in the late 1980s, the creative team set out to deliver a park that didn't just show you the movies, it put you inside them. To make that vision a reality, they knew they needed attractions that pushed technical limits. That's where Earthquake came in. The ride was inspired by the Earthquake sequence featured on the studio tour at Universal Studios Hollywood, but the Florida version would go far beyond what guests had seen before. Instead of a drive-by tram segment, this would be a full-fledged show and ride hybrid. It had to tell a story, demonstrate special effects, and deliver a thrill, all while safely simulating a major natural disaster. To accomplish this, Universal teamed up with Ride and Show Engineering, a firm specialising in complex ride systems. The main set, a life-size recreation of a San Francisco subway station, was constructed inside a massive soundstage. Over 50 individual effects would be carefully integrated into the final sequence. These included collapsing ceiling tiles, simulated fire, sparking electrical boxes, bursting pipes, a derailing subway car, a crashing semi-truck, and a flood that poured thousands of gallons of water onto the set in mere seconds. The subway car guests rode in was mounted on a motion platform capable of shaking, rocking, and tilting on command, giving riders the sensation that the entire train was being tossed around by an 8.3 magnitude quake. Coordinating all these effects took precision. A master control system had to time every shake, spark, and sound cue down to the millisecond. And when the attraction opened in 1990, it stood as one of the most technologically ambitious rides Universal had ever built. It brought the scale and realism of a Hollywood disaster movie to the heart of a theme park and made sure no guest walked away without feeling the earth move beneath their feet. Guests entered a San Francisco subway terminal before moving into a multi-stage Disaster Institute tour. This walkthrough experience doubled as a behind-the-scenes look at how disaster movies were made. Led by a charismatic director named Marty, guests got hands-on with wind machines, miniature models, and even helped film short effects scenes using audience volunteers. It was part show, part attraction, designed to educate and entertain while building anticipation for the finale. After the effects tour and pre-show, guests entered a loading area designed to mimic a Bay Area subway platform. The atmosphere was cool and quiet, almost eerily calm. Guests boarded the train, took their seats, and the doors closed behind them. It seemed like a normal ride on the San Francisco transit system, until it wasn't. The train rolled forward and entered the station tunnel. Without warning, the ground began to rumble. The lights flickered. Sparks burst from the ceiling. The train jolted to a halt as an emergency alarm blared over the PA system. The walls of the tunnel buckled and groaned. That's when the earthquake hit full force. Ceiling panels fell onto the track, pipes burst overhead, spraying water into the air. A power transformer exploded in a shower of sparks. Guests could hear the structure straining and twisting under pressure. And then, in a moment that stunned first-time riders, a massive 18-wheeler truck came crashing through the second-story wall, stopping just feet above the train. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, a water main broke. Thousands of gallons of water cascaded down into the station. The train shook as if it were about to derail. Everything around it looked like it was collapsing, and then, as quickly as it started, the tremors ceased. Smoke still lingered in the air as the train rolled backward to safety. What guests had just experienced was a tightly choreographed ballet of chaos, engineered down to the tiniest cue. No screens, no CGI. Everything was real, physical, and right in front of you. For many visitors, it was the most intense few minutes they'd ever spent in a theme park. By the early 2000s, Earthquake the Big One had been shaking guests for over a decade. But theme park tastes were shifting. Audiences now expected more humour, more interactivity, and updated IPs. So in 2007, Universal announced a bold reimagining. Rather than tear down the ride, they'd retrofit it with a fresh coat of comedy and a new behind-the-scenes storyline. The result? Disaster, a major motion picture ride starring you. The new version retained the ride's core structure, but wrapped it in a tongue-in-cheek premise. Guests were no longer just touring a movie set. They were now cast as extras in a disaster film being shot by the eccentric, egotistical director Frank Kincaid, played by none other than Christopher Walken via digital projection. Using then cutting-edge holographic technology, Walken's performance was projected live into the room, giving guests the illusion they were speaking directly with him. His character was dramatic, intense, and obsessed with capturing the most realistic disaster movie ever made. Guests were drafted to help shoot scenes using green screens, props, and exaggerated acting, all while being coached by Kincaid's enthusiastic assistant Lonnie. Volunteers were pulled from the audience to film short scenes, screaming in panic, dodging lava, and getting blasted by wind machines. It was campy, chaotic, and totally self-aware. And the goal? To assemble all the scenes into one big finale, a trailer for Mother Nature, Kincaid's magnum opus. Once the filming wrapped, guests boarded the same subway train used in the original attraction. The earthquake sequence remained largely unchanged, still featuring the crashing truck, the ceiling collapse, and the dramatic flood. But now, once the ride ended, guests were treated to a humorous twist. As they exited, guests watched a ridiculous fake movie trailer starring themselves thanks to live footage recorded during the pre-show scenes. It was a humorous finale that blended cheesy special effects with Hollywood satire. Disaster breathed new life into the aging ride system, earning a small but devoted fan base. It was a love letter to B-movie mayhem, complete with camp, charisma, and a little Walken weirdness. But despite its creativity, it couldn't shake off Universal's push for big-name IPs. In 2015, Universal announced the closure of Disaster to make way for Fast and Furious Supercharged. On September 8, 2015, the attraction gave its final performance. With it, the last remnant of the original Earthquake ride came to an end, marking the close of an era that began with a simple promise: to let guests feel the fury of the big one. Earthquake was a groundbreaking attraction in every sense of the word. It combined film history, theme park engineering, and pure spectacle, bringing a movie disaster to life right in front of your eyes. And while the ground may no longer rumble in that fictional San Francisco subway station, this ride left an impact that fans still remember to this day. Thanks so much for watching today. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Universal Studios history, please pop a like on the video, and why not consider subscribing to the channel as well. And please drop down into the comments, give me your favourite Earthquake memory. And also, give me a suggestion for a video you'd like to see me do next. And if these theme park deep dive videos interest you, why not check out this video next? And until next time, stay safe out there. You never know when the big one may hit.